Hello everyone! Here we are, episode number 5 of our Queen's Gambit Film Club. I'm going to wait tiny bit to see if everyone can join who wanted to join us. And then we are going to begin. It was I really enjoyed this episode. I hope you guys managed to watch it and managed to have some refresh of what happened. Also, I'm gonna let all of you know that I'm going to go live tonight on my Instagram with a Q&A. I'm gonna leave it in the chat. My username is Clone Rosie on Instagram as well, so feel free to join in. I accept any kind of questions, more personal ones, and also chess questions, so I'm looking forward to it. Definitely. So let's wait just one more moment. I'm gonna see if anyone wants to hang out. I'm just gonna have a little peek. I'm gonna have a little sneak peek on Instagram in case anybody messaged. And here we go. More, it showed me that the internet connection was a bit low. If that happens, I apologize. It might happen a bit. Okay. All right, we are gonna begin and let's see. And those who are watching after, welcome. Thank you so much for spending the time with me, Beth Harmon, and the Queen's Gambit for the next half an hour, more or less. So, episode 5's title is Fork. And those who play chess will know what fork means, and I will also explain it a bit in more detail. But starting off, the opening scene shows us that Beth has a memory from her childhood where her mom was explaining to her how she's always gonna have to know how to take care of herself because eventually she's going to end up alone. And it's just really sad, especially after we know that her mom passed away. Her adoptive mom passed away as well. So she lost 2 mothers at this stage, and she literally remained alone. As she gets home after arriving home from Mexico, her phone rings, and Baltic is ringing her. Baltic was one of the Kentucky State champions who she beat back at the beginning of the series, and he decided that he was nearby, so he rang her up and he offered to go over and help Beth out with some training. Seems kind of all innocent, and Baltic goes over and they have a little chat, and then Baltic of course heard about the passing of Alma, so I guess he knew that Beth might have needed some company. Now, back to the fork. So a fork in chess means that a chess piece is attacking the opponent's pieces at the same time. It's like creating that fork shape. And I put on the presentation some examples. So in the first one, you see the pawn is attacking both the knight, the white knight, and the white bishop. And then on the other one, the knight is actually checking the king and then attacking the bishop at the same time. When it's a check, we know that the king will have to move away here, and then in the next move, black could capture the bishop. And in this example, again, one of the pieces will have to move or do something. In this case, the bishop is going to probably just capture that pawn, and then the king captures back, and then it's going to be a draw. It would be a draw if it's only two kings and then one bishop or only one knight, because with one of these pieces you cannot checkmate your opponent. Also, sources to all the materials I've used, as always, I always link them down below. Hello, Delphic Bug, welcome. Thanks so much for joining live. Hope you will enjoy it. We are at episode 5 of the Queen's Gambit today. Where are you tuning in from? I'm very curious to know. And also, have you been following me, or did you just find the stream right now? Please let me know. I would love to know. So yeah, that's about the fork. And a bit of a disclaimer before I go over is that this series is not recommended for kids under 18. So if you are underage, probably it's not the type of content you should be watching. It's your own responsibility though. But I wanted to make this disclaimer. Also, this series is full of quite emotionally difficult and triggering content. So at any time you feel triggered, please feel free to leave or stop watching. You are Delfster from my Twitch channel. Amazing. Lovely. Thank you for joining also on YouTube. It's very, very nice to hear. Then we see Benny. Sorry. No, not Benny. It's Baltic is analyzing a game between Beth and Benny. So you remember that Benny beat Beth last time they played. And so Baltic comes up with the idea saying that he actually found a good solution for Beth that she missed. So they start analyzing this game. You will see it on the left, the actual picture from the movie, and on the right, on the chessboard, you will see the chess position that is set up. And we know how the game continued. So here, the rook from g1 went to h1, then black rook went to e8, and then the white rook captured the h2 pawn, king went to f8, black is quite kind of stuck here, and then a5, white pawn a5 is quite brutal, and then b captured on a5, and the a5, b, oh, and then b6. b6 happened already. A captures b6. Something is wrong with this one. It doesn't make sense. Or I'm not reading it correctly. But basically, this is the situation that we see on the board, that's for sure. And Benny wins the game, so probably Beth had better lines to follow. But what they emphasize here as well is that at this time when this movie was shot, and even back in the day, there were no computers. So the analyzation of the games was purely just humans sitting down and going through possibilities. So of course, back then, it's not like you could find the best line in like 2 seconds. It took time. And actually within this episode, they turn back to the same game and analyze it more often. Baltic mentions a Diderot quote when he says, "It's foolish to run the risk of going mad for vanity's sake." And he mentions it when he says to Beth that he recognizes how much she loves analyzing her own game, and that's a bit vain. So Baltic is a little bit kind of warning Beth at this stage to just pay attention to her mindset and her mental health, because, and this is a fact, chess can become a little bit overbearing, overpowering if somebody does not take care and takes breaks and make sure that pays attention on other areas of life. I'm sure those of you who play chess will absolutely know what I mean. Feel free to let me know in the comment section if you would agree with this. They also end up watching an interview with Borgov. We know that Beth's biggest opponent is Borgov, and basically she already lost against him in Mexico, so she is kind of really want to get revenge, but of course it's necessary for her to have another chance to play him. The interviewer lady repeats Kasparov's words, so these were all actually said by Kasparov and they implemented it into the movie. Few things are as mentally brutal as chess. And then Borgov replies with again Kasparov's words, attackers may sometimes regret their moves, but it is much worse to forever regret an opportunity you allowed to pass you by. So that's a very, very cool quote, and I can 100% relate. I live my life, and you can implement this into real life situations. So I truly believe it's better to live our life without regrets, knowing that you tried anything you wanted to try and anything you were able to try, rather than not doing something out of fear and then regret it because you never tried it. And the same on the chessboard, it says sometimes an attack, if it's not well prepared, it's not going to be effective and you might even lose the game. But Borgov much rather do that than regret not even trying. So that's a very, very cool quote I found, and really, really nice. So as we progress, it's Baltic and Beth now in the same house because Beth invites Baltic over to stay. Baltic mentions he needs to find accommodation, so Beth offers this. And in return, he wants to help her prepare for tournaments. And he can tell that Beth has amazing instincts, and she's really, really amazing at having these natural ideas. But when it comes to exercises and actual theoretical studies, she is not really dedicating much time to that. So Baltic is trying to help her and improve with that. In the meantime, I see Vishal is here. Hi, Vishal. Thank you so much for joining in. Really nice to see you. Thank you, guys. Also, we can see at this stage, as they are living together, what different, like they are completely different personalities, and you can tell that Baltic is very much into Beth, also on a male-female relationship kind of level. But like, I just had that feeling, like it's obvious that he's very, very interested in Beth, but he also feels like she's out of my league kind of thing. So then they actually become close and they are like pretty warmed up. And Baltic is actually even trying to express his emotions to her and says that he only fixed his teeth because he would hope that she would he would see her one day. And Beth basically just shuts him off, which I think, Beth probably knew that she didn't want anything serious. Also, she's grieving, so let's not forget that. So, yeah, I think she did well to be like kind of cut him off at the beginning before it could have ended up being more painful. Vishal says, Fork, interesting. Yes, the title was Fork, was this one. And it, of course, represents the whole storyline of Beth's life because she ends up with different possibilities, different life paths where she could go left and right or right and left, and there a decision has to be made basically. Baltic doesn't really take it well as Beth like his dismissal, but he's all right. Baltic the next day basically decides to leave. He realizes that it's not gonna be healthy if he stays longer. They have a lovely conversation where they thank each other for everything they learned from each other. Baltic even confesses that he doesn't really like chess anymore. He realizes he's not as passionate about it as Beth. And he even mentions Morphe, and he mentions that he became paranoid and died, and he was too obsessed with the game. And he basically warns Beth not to end up like that. Beth takes a bit of an offense even, because she is like, do you think I'm gonna become like him? And then Baltic answers and says, you are already like him. So that's quite tough. What do you guys think about this situation? Let me see. Dafter. It's like the poem by Robert Frost, The Dilemma and Life Choices, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Fork is different life paths, very great representation. Vishal has a question. Was Beth's intellect level equivalent to Magnus Carlsen? I would say very close. Yes, Vishal. In my opinion, what do you guys think? But I think, I've seen some interviews and like mini documentaries about Magnus, and he also, it's called genius. Like he just as a young child already, this kind of photographic memory mixed with this huge creativity on the chessboard. I think so. Absolutely. And actually, Morphe, they used to call Morphe the pride and the sorrow of chess, because apparently he was such a brilliant player, but then he would go and drink a lot, and he was very obsessed and like going a bit crazy. So again, the positives and negatives of chess are represented really nicely here. Vishal says, I think both are very closely equivalent. Their memory is amazing. I agree with you. Absolutely. Yeah. It's like everything, guys, in life. There is always good and bad. And without the good, we wouldn't know what's not so good. And without the bad, we wouldn't appreciate as much the good. So of course we are trying to have a balance. And if somebody has a lot of hardship in their life, they are like, that's not balanced at all. So I understand that. And I think chess represents this as well, that with each game, we just try to get better and try to create a bit more positives within our game, right? So, but if it doesn't happen always, it's part of the game. Absolutely. So here, Beth kind of takes a bit of offense, but also I think she might start thinking about what Baltic said and warned her. Shortly after, Beth and Benny meet again. Sorry about there I didn't put a space between the next tournament, but the next tournament is the US Championship at the University of Ohio, and they meet, and it's a bit like, if you think about the title, The Fork, the first was Baltic and now it's Benny. So Beth has all these boys around her and kind of, lingering there. Vishal is asking, why does Morphe get paranoid? Is there any relationship between genius and madness? Absolutely, Vishal. I'm sure you heard about this before. And apparently Morphe gets paranoid because he's so obsessed with chess and the game, and he always thinks about his games even after it's done, so he could never switch off. So yeah, but like you see it even nowadays with certain chess players. Sorry guys, my phone rang. You see it with other players. even nowadays. So it's no surprise. That's why I emphasize always, and this is just my personal advice, you don't have to take it. Even if you love chess and you want to play it all the time, excuse me, it's so important to pay attention to other parts of your life as well, and to switch off from the computer, to meet your people in your life and try to pay attention to them as much as you pay attention to chess, because at the end of the day, our human relationships are what we will always remember and what we will be remembered for, really, in my opinion. Feel free to let me know if you disagree, though. That's absolutely fine. Benny is a bit complaining about the location, the organization of the tournament. And he's a bit like, here to me, he seems like a bit like phlegma. How is it called in English? When he's like, oh yeah, I'm too good for this shit, basically. And it's funny because Beth has an amazing humor and she always calls him out and she's always like mocking him a little bit, which I really, really like. Vishal says, I can relate this very well to this. I even get so obsessed in chess that I didn't study well in my 12th standards. Well, Vishal, and the problem is that then you might regret it, like, because you sometimes, I'm not saying you can't change things in your life. You can always change things. You have that power of decision, but I honestly think if you have noticed this already in your life, it's worth learning from. How old are you, Vishal? Please remind me, if you don't mind, because I remember you are pretty young. Okay, now we see a few days of games. We see that both Beth and Benny are winning games, so we expect that they will play the final with each other. But there are a few quotes here that were very, very cool. One, when Benny says, I can tell on the first move whether someone's got that or they don't, just from how they move the first piece. So he means he can tell from the first move whether someone is a beginner or an experienced player just by how they move the chess pieces. And I found that very interesting because I just remembered when I was playing tournaments, body language and psychology and like your facial expressions are so important at a real tournament. I can't even emphasize this enough. So important. You can learn a lot about the other from body language. And Benny says, just by the way somebody handles the pieces, and you can project a lot of confidence, you can project fear, you can project insecurities or a bit of aggression, the way you place down the moves, you can project a lot. And that's why chess is such a complex game, especially when playing in a real tournament. Vishal says he's 22, very good, and that you studied well in your university exams after learning a lesson. 2 thumbs up to you, Vishal. That's really, really great. And it's very good. It's okay to make mistakes. And that's what I always say, even in a chess game. Of course, it's okay to make mistakes, but it's important that we learn from them. Very important. So body language at chess tournaments, chess games, especially real life, because online you don't really see your opponent usually unless they are streaming, but still you see usually, I mean, my face expressions are funny, like quite awkward. But yeah, so that was very interesting. And the other quote, Benny also mentions that one of his fans asked for advice and he said, I would tell them to get in shape. Most people, when they think about chess players, they think about people who look like you. So this is something Benny told this poor young lad who asked for advice from him. And we know the stereotype. We know that people who are not in the chess world, they assume chess players are like these geeky people who are not sporty at all, not fit at all. I know, I said it. I know that's what people think, and many times it happened in my own life where when I mentioned I used to play chess, or even back then when I said, yeah, I'm playing chess like quite seriously, people were like, what, you? Because maybe I didn't look like a typical chess player. But on that note, and Magnus Carlsen would approve of that because he mentions this at one of his interviews. Physical sports, beat chess, are essential, crucial. Delphic Bug says stereotypical. Oh yes, absolutely. I know. Davster, I agree. Stereotypical, but it's every stereotype comes from something. So it has a basic truth to it, basically. But so back to Magnus, he mentions that he goes to the gym almost every day or goes for a run. Physical health and physical fitness is very important because the big chess tournaments, one game can last 5-6 hours, even maybe a little more nowadays with all the extended times. So for you to be able to sit there for so long and have your brain working really well at high capacity, it's important to have a good physical health and a bit of stamina built up. Vishal says, that period of time obsession with chess was amazing. I always think about chess 24 hours, but I really enjoyed that period of time and it's unforgettable. And he also says physical fitness is so crucial. Good blood circulation, really helpful in boosting concentration. Exactly. And now, if anyone is watching and they have never been to a tournament, you might ask, so you have to sit there for 5-6 hours without getting up? No, you can get up. You can walk around. You can go to a toilet. You can even eat, have a snack, drink. But still your brain kind of doesn't switch off. Even if you stand up and walk around, your brain is still working in the background and kind of thinking about the possibility of moves. So of course you can get up, but it's still very extremely exhausting to play these very long games and with high risk. Not high risk, there is a lot at stake, especially when you are towards the finals or maybe you are in a winning position. So yeah, physical fitness, I agree, Vishal, very, very important. So as I mentioned, we see Beth and Benny winning the game, so we know they are gonna match. But there is a day off, and this used to be, and still to this date, for example, at chess Olympic Games and big tournaments, and even World Championships and European Championships. I remember we had days off. So let's say the tournament is for 10 days and you play 8 games, and you might have 2 days off or just 1 day off. So that happened at this US state championship as well. They had a day off, and Beth wants to study in her room. Benny kind of invites her to hang out and play some blitz, but she's like, no, I want to study on my own. And then of course she can't focus, and she's not the type, guys, come on, she's just not the type who's gonna sit and study by herself. Because if you think about it, and I was thinking about this, and please let me know in the chat, until Alma was around her, she enjoyed like analyzing games and explaining to Alma, but like she never really enjoyed being alone. And I'm sure it comes a lot from her childhood trauma as well. So she did study when somebody was around her, or like if Baltic was helping, but I knew she wasn't gonna just sit there. So she gets up and goes down to the cafe with an excuse to have a coffee. where she meets Benny and other two guys. Benny introduces the other two guys to Beth, and she's like, "Oh, hi, nice to meet you." And then they are like, "Oh, we actually played with you already, and you beat us both," which was a very funny scene because it just shows that Beth kind of just takes them as like that one next, and like she beats them and she doesn't even remember who she played with. I thought it was interesting to see. Then slowly they convince Beth to play. I mean, Benny convinces her and they play a lot of blitz games. Oh, hold on. I was meaning to mention here, guys, at the bottom of the slide, you will see that Benny invites her to play Blitz, or he mentions a rapid game, Skittles, or Backhouse. And in case anybody doesn't know what these mean, so in chess, a Blitz game would be the fast game, so like 5 minutes game. Blitz, rapid would be, I think, up to 10-15 minutes, so it's a bit longer game. Backhouse is when you play in pairs, so I have a teammate. Let's say I play with Beth and Vishal plays with Delphic Bug. And when you capture a piece, you give it to your teammate. So I would give it to Beth, and she can place it on the board wherever she wants to. So, you know, teams are playing together, and it's very fun. And I remember I used to play this a lot when I was younger, and I never knew it was called Backhouse in English because I only knew it in Hungarian. So it's fun. That's Backhouse. And Skittles, guys. I don't know what Skittle is, and I was trying to look, and I couldn't find it. Can any of you tell me what Skittle means? Skittles in chess, please. And then Vishal says, money was on stake, that's why. Of course. Benny, and also I feel like Benny really wanted to give a lecture to Beth. So, because they are rivals. I mean, at this stage, Benny beat Beth. So there is a lot of rivalry there. If any of you know what Skittles is in chess, please let me know, by the way. And also, if any of you watching after, feel free to drop it in the comment section. Yeah, I tried to Google it, Vishal, and it didn't come up for me, but maybe I didn't spend enough time. Skittles is like foosball. No idea about the chess reference. Oh, so it would have been interesting. Anyway, that's gonna be all of our little homework to look up what does Skittles mean in chess. So in this screen, you see there is one of a position that we see that happened between Beth and Benny in one of these blitz games. And basically, Benny was beating Beth really bad. They were playing for money, so Beth lost a lot of money. And this was their day off, and the next day they were playing against each other. So, you know, Beth was getting exhausted and worked up and lost a lot of money, upset. Well, it was not really fair, to be fair, in my opinion, from Benny's point of view. It wasn't really fair to, you know, to challenge Beth because he knew she wouldn't be able to say no. Because she's also very, feisty. She likes to fight and she likes to win a lot. Okay, now we know Beth lost a lot of money, and here they were just mentioning in the article, which I will link in the description where I saved the video, that as if you have a look closely, Beth's time is up, but actually Benny didn't even notice and he just checkmated Beth instead. none of them noticed, and most of the guys were standing on that side of the clock, so they didn't even see either. And this is what happens at some of the blitz tournaments, is that you have to be, very good. Even if you are watching the tournament, like, you cannot make noises. Like, if somebody, if the time runs out and someone is like or like makes a noise, that would give an advantage of the person to look at the clock. So it's very important to be very respectful, even if as a spectator. So let me see what Delphig says. Before rounds, while players are waiting to play their US chess-rated games of chess in the tournament room, they often play casual unrated games of chess, Skittle games, in the Skittles room. Ah, I see. Skittles is a centuries-old European game played on British lawns and pubs and in German beer. Ah, so Skittles is referred to like no stake. It's just friendly games, basically. Vishal says, then Beth did beat Benny many times. Fair enough. The modern sport of bowling descends from Skittles. Casual games of chess. Fast blitz games. I see. Because chess pieces originally made of wood can fly all over and even off the board when they are captured and removed from the board, the same way wooden pins do when struck by a wooden ball. That's very true, actually, guys. That when you remember, I don't know if you ever got the chance to play actual chessboard blitz games, but it's mental. It's like the pieces are falling and everyone is like loads of hands there. I mean, two hands are like, it's a lot of tension, a lot of nerves going on. Basically, after this loss, the next morning they meet in the park, Benny and Beth. And Beth is asking Benny, were you trying to wind me up? And he says, no, absolutely not. I think he was. Now, in the final round, Beth and Benny play, and they only show actually Benny's first move, which he starts with c4, which is quite an unusual opening, and I guess he was trying to avoid to go into the preparation that Beth must have prepared against him. Because remember, guys, that before we mentioned that an open tournament or an invitation tournament, the difference is in an open tournament, you don't really know who are going to be your opponents, so you can't prepare as much. But an invitational tournament, you would in advance know all your opponents and everyone plays everyone, so you can really prepare for the openings. Now, in this case, before the day off, they already knew they were going to play with each other. And thank you so much, Dafter, for looking up the Skittles. Now we know. That's very good. Me and Vishal, we both will remember, and those who are watching after. So we know that Beth won against Benny. And you see, guys, how interesting that, yeah, she was upset, she was worked up, she was tired, but it gave her a good boost, and she managed to beat Benny. But they didn't show the whole game in the film. They just show them two chatting. And the scene changes, and Benny talks about the Russian Invitational tournament, and he says that the US champion gets invited to Moscow for this closed invitational tournament, and that 4 Russian players will play against 4 other nationality players. And Benny offers the chance for Beth to go to New York, get coached by Benny before her next tournament in Paris, and then shortly after, the Russian tournament is going to happen too. So the funny part is, as Benny invites Beth, he discloses that there won't happen anything else between them apart from purely chess relationship. Now, I'm not gonna give a spoiler. We will see what happens, but that was a funny part, I think, because I just feel like all these guys kind of feel a bit like outside of Beth's league, but Benny has a lot of self-confidence, so that shows very well as well in this episode. Um, so that was my last slide, and again, just as a little summary with the title, the fork, it really represents in this episode how Beth's life came to a crossing, and she had this destructive path or season of her life before, and now with Alma's passing, she's kind of trying to train for chess, trying to focus, but she also is trying to like just not be alone, be surrounded by people. So yeah, so it's the beginning of a beautiful friendship for sure. That's for sure. And Visha says she was lucky her friend helped her a lot. That's very true. Benny is a crucial part of Beth's chess career. That's absolutely true. So guys, that was my last slide, and that concluded this episode. Now, my question is, do you have any questions? Do you have any more observations? What did you guys think about this episode? We have 2 more left. So 2 more left of our film club for the Queen's Gambit. But feel free to let me know in the chat if you have any questions, and also those who are watching afterwards, please do comment below. What did you think? I didn't put as many actual chess game references. You will find them though in the article, which I again used as help for certain slides. So I'm gonna link the article in the description when the video is saved. And if you haven't seen the Queen's Gambit yet, hello, do that straight away. Vishal has a question. Take your time, Vishal. I'm looking forward to hearing your question. In the meantime, I'm going to go back to the opening slide, just because we have our title. So if you haven't seen episode 5 yet, before watching this video, watch it, and then it could be interesting. And thank you to both of you for joining me on live, because it's so much fun to have interaction in the chat, and I'm curious what you guys think. Vishal is asking, was Benny better than Beth in middle games? I feel like the middle game is... No, don't worry. What I think personally, it's hard to tell, but my opinion is that Beth was a really intuitive player and just a genius, talented. But her theory, like opening studies, endgame studies, or positional game, yeah, but theory was not that great. So I would say that in the middle game, maybe he wasn't better, because that's Beth's strength, to create that kind of very quick attack in the middle game. But in openings or end games, I think Benny was better. And that shows actually later on when Benny helps Beth. But we will talk about this. It's a good question, though. Thank you so much, Delphic. Good to be here. Had fun. Cheerio. Thank you, guys. Thank you. And yeah, that was it. And don't forget that I'm going live on Instagram as well tonight. It's going to be at 8 p.m. GMT time. So I'm going to put that timer up again, because I feel like I've put the wrong time last time, but it's 8 p.m. GMT time. Okay, so I will see you there, and you can ask me any questions about my background with chess, or a bit more personal questions, or chess questions. I have had a few questions come in, one of you from Vishal as well. So I will answer them all. And thank you guys for joining me, and I will save this onto YouTube. Thank you. Bye, everyone.